Hello everyone, my name is Prism, and welcome back to another video on the Media Spotlight. Today, I'm going to be continuing my quest to review every single feature-length Disney animated film. Today, what we're going to be doing is reviewing the 27th Walt Disney Animation Studios feature, 1988's Oliver and Company. Now, Oliver and Company is notable for being not only the 27th feature, but the final feature in the Disney Dark Age, a period from the 1970s into the late 1980s, where Disney's animated features were both not as financially profitable and were more cheaply made. This would actually be the film that would transition the Disney company out of the Dark Age for multiple reasons. One, its release and financial success being a signal to do yearly theatrical releases, but also the fact that it is a musical. This is the first film to actually have the work of Howard Ashman, with the song Once Upon a Time in New York City being composed for the film's opening number. Now, furthermore than that, this film being a musical also would become a common trend, where every single film from 1988 all the way to the end of the Renaissance in 1999 would be a musical film, even if not entirely the same type of musical. We'll talk about that later on, but the point being, this is the reason the Disney Renaissance happened. Howard Ashman and his partner were the purpose of the Disney Renaissance, and this film being a successful musical taught the Disney company people like musicals, so let's give them more. So Howard Ashman and Alan Menken are really the ones to thank for Disney's future. Now, as for Oliver and Company itself, I actually quite like the film. It's a favorite of my collection. It's a favorite of my Disney animation knowledge. I've watched the film multiple times in my childhood, and I still love it to this very day. I think Oliver and Company, well, one thing I should note is it's an adaptation of Oliver Twist. And I've never read or watched the film on Oliver Twist all the way through, but I do have to say that Disney's version is definitely not accurate. Though I think if you separate it from originally being Oliver Twist in, namesake, you get a pretty good musical. Oliver and Company is a film about a little kitten named Oliver and his journey to become, well, adopted. He's a cat that lives on the streets of New York that really wants a family, and along that journey he meets a gang of dogs owned by Fagin, including Dodger, voiced by Billy Joel, and by the end of the movie, after some crazy adventures, he's in the homes of a human that truly cares about him. Now, as I've stated, I really like Oliver and Company. Oliver and Company is a really fun Disney movie, just to put it simply. If you take away the Oliver Twist factor, you get a really fun story about just animals, New York, and just this crazy kind of cat wanting to find a family story. It's nothing groundbreaking, but it is very enjoyable. And I think part of that is not only the film itself, but is the parts of the film. So, most notably, the characters and the songs. Oliver and Company has a lot of great characters in the main cast, specifically all of Fagin's dogs. Now, Fagin is actually voiced by Dom DeLuise, a Don Bluth favorite. But he's voicing a Disney character in this one-time role, and Dom DeLuise managed to give a performance that is very likable. You really like Fagin as a character. Yes, he's down on his luck, but he's a character that you care about, and even when he gets to the point where he decides to kidnap Oliver, he goes back on it. Like, he needs the money, but he realizes what he's doing isn't worth it. Like, the girl doesn't have the money. There's no point to hold her for ransom. There's no point to hold the kitten for ransom. He just decides to do the right thing. And I think that's something really admirable. But I think even more fun than Fagin are, of course, all of the animal characters. All of the animals in Oliver and Company are so much fun to get to hang out with and just watch on screen. Most notably, I would say Dodger and Georgette are the scene stealers, but all the others still give a lot of fun to be had, and still have, their kind of personalities. And I think, Dodger as well, kind of the partner that he finds, is a really fun character. He definitely has that kind of con artist feel, but also not a con artist. He's really a dog with a big heart, with a voice and song performance by Billy Joel. And then, of course, you have Georgette, kind of the rich, pretty dog that doesn't, like things to be messy and likes her life of feeling like the best dog and whatever. She's the show dog. And she gives a very fun performance, most notably in the song Perfect Isn't Easy. And actually, that's my next point with Oliver and Company. All the songs are really good in this film. I'm going to briefly talk about all of them, but I do really like each one of them. So let's see what there is here. There's Once Upon a Time in New York City, which is a song that just kind of introduces you to what's going on. Kind of just to New York City, and it also kind of explains the life of Oliver, while also not being direct with it. It never really says anything that's saying this is Oliver, but with the footage, you get the association that this is meant to explain Oliver's circumstance. And then you, of course, have the big number, Why Should I Worry, which is obviously my favorite, and I think it's a really fun song, because it just is, Billy Joel kind of just messing with Oliver, just kind of, just goofing around, obviously kind of being a con artist. But it's a very fun song. And then the next one that you have is Streets of Gold, which is a short musical number. It doesn't really serve a purpose, honestly. You could probably cut it from the film, but it's fun. It just kind of shows you the dog's singing talents, and I do like it. And then, of course, you have Perfect Isn't Easy, which is our final... Actually, no, there's one more song after this. But Perfect Isn't Easy is really our big final performance from one of the dogs. And you can really tell that this is where a lot of the animation and creativity went, because this song, it goes so overboard to say nothing. There's no purpose for this song to exist. Georgette isn't really a character that you need to know that much about, because it isn't her story. I mean, obviously she's jealous of Oliver, but they do a great job with making a really fun musical number that even uses some computer technology for a couple of the shots. And then, of course, the final song, When We're Together, I believe is the name of it. The song that Penny sings with Oliver. It's just kind of a nice song that turns into kind of a montage. And it just kind of explains the relationship that they like being together. And thankfully they don't have Oliver sing, because I don't think that would have gone over well. But I do like all these songs. I don't think any of these are great songs. I don't think any of these are going to win Oscars. But I think they all serve their purpose at just kind of being fun musical numbers and making this film be a musical. That's the bottom line. You want a musical movie? Well, here's musical songs. And I think they do a good job of that. And, of course, like I said, there's other great characters in Oliver and Company. You also have Sykes, which is the antagonist of the film. And there's a lot I could really say about Sykes. I think he's probably one of the most threatening Disney antagonists. He's also kind of going back to a trend that Disney had, where they really like doing kidnapping in their films. Not promoting it, of course, but having villains that were kidnappers. And oh my goodness, this one goes pretty hard. Every time Disney does one of these villains, back in the 70s and 80s, they make them extremely threatening. And Syke and his dogs, obviously, are definitely a force to be reckoned with. That's my thoughts for Disney's Oliver and Company. I hope you all enjoyed this. And as we're running out of the Dark Age, let's go into the 1990s or the late 1980s with a film that takes us to the bottom of the sea. I'll see you guys all next time for The Little Mermaid. Take care, and goodbye for now. And of course, the common tradition of adding my film to the tier list, I'm going to put Oliver and Company in, I think, the favorites to all right category. Honestly, I'm thinking of reorganizing a little bit. I would probably put 101 Dalmatians down here, move Bambi kind of to the lower back half. No, actually, I think that's where I'm going to put it. This is my tier list as of the moment. You can tell that I change this often, but we have my 5 tiers, actually 6, and that is where I'm placing Oliver and Company. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you all for watching, and goodbye for now. In New York City.